Welcome to the Beyond the Cart podcast. This is our first episode. I'm so incredibly excited to come to you live here on LinkedIn with my good friend Kyle Hamer. Kyle, welcome to the show. This is your show. I'm excited to have you here. If you can introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit more about who you are and why you're doing podcasts on LinkedIn Live now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to be on here. And I'm really pumped to do this with you, David. So we've known each other for a number of years now, and you are a great friend and a super smart, savvy business operator. So collaborating with you on this project is super exciting for me, for sure. And then, yeah, just jumping into like, why now? Like, what is this even about? So really, this is just a test. It's like, let's test, let's have a great conversations and start them why and focus it on LinkedIn really and building out content here. I think this is honestly an underserved platform for content, and it really aligns with where we want to go as a brand, where I want to, I'm testing and building a personal brand in this space as well. And so this is a platform to really to test these things out, to try them out, but really more importantly, have great conversations that go just beyond the transactional level of agency owner and client or brand and customer. And that's why it's sort of behind beyond the cart. Like I think that there's really cool nuance and stories that can be elevated and highlighted in sort of our own journeys within e-commerce and in business that I think more people just need to hear. So that's really my goal with it, is just building a platform that allows these conversations to occur and these stories to be told. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I love that. Now, let's talk about LinkedIn because we are
Let's do it.
on LinkedIn first as a platform. And I'm
Mhm.
curious, when was the very first time you remember the LinkedIn platform coming out and you being part of that? Like, why were you interested in this professional network?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I've had sort of this on off again relationship with LinkedIn, right? So, I mean, when I first sort of saw LinkedIn, it was like, oh, this is a great networking platform. Really, especially if you're looking for work. I sort of associated LinkedIn as like job hunting platform. It's like Indeed initially, right? It's like, hey, you're gonna go get a job. You need to be on LinkedIn and kind of posting your resume, right, on there. That's how I saw it for a long period of time. And to that point, I kind of ignored it. Like I don't know, like David was kind of optimizing some stuff on LinkedIn. Even like a year and a half ago, we were kind of talking about it, and I literally had to go find the login for it. I hadn't paid any attention to it, never updated it. Still probably need to update it and optimize it even more, just because I ignored it as a platform. But more and more, I was starting to realize that one, they had done a much better job of sort of cultivating, even stuff with streaming and content. And the content that was being produced was really targeted and really valuable, particularly as a business owner, but to my target audience and to the people I interact in my community, in e-commerce. And so I was like, this is actually pretty cool. And now to the fact it's like if I'm going to pick a platform to engage with, typically I'm more active on LinkedIn and plan to be a lot more so than I ever have on any other platform. Like I'm not really active on Facebook on a personal standpoint and business stuff, it's like kind of automated. And I really want to lean into the LinkedIn side of the content opportunity that's there, and just leveraging and doubling down on where that's opportunity. So my opinion of it changed. It radically changed, I'd say, over the last probably 15, 16 months. And I started really seeing the opportunity that exists there to have to be a platform to tell cool business related stories more effectively.
I love that, Kyle. That's awesome. I know that we're also able to go live on other platforms too, like
Yeah,
YouTube and Instagram. So if you're tuning in from there, welcome
for
to
sure.
the LinkedIn podcast here, Beyond the Cart. We're here with Kyle Hamer. And so when you first got your LinkedIn, I don't know about you, but I just got out of college and I was like, maybe I need to be on LinkedIn for my career
Right.
and maybe for a job. But when I became a founder, kind of like yourself, being able to connect with other humans on that human to human level and really
Hmm.
tap into the new features that have come out, such as the video feed, right? As well as LinkedIn Live. So it's super interesting about that is that you're able to actually connect with people all over the globe as well as in the Pacific Northwest. So I'd love to hear kind of what was your first job? Like, what were you doing when LinkedIn first came out for the audience?
So LinkedIn came out, I believe, in 2002. So at that point in 2002, I was just graduating from like community college. And actually, what I was doing at that time in 2002 was actually dropping out of college and doing a startup. That's what I did. Yeah, right around that time, I was involved in an IT startup in where I grew up in Oregon, on the West Coast, and we launched it. Actually, the founder of that business was kind of coming out of the .com, a lot of web dev, and so I helped him with the startup. It's still in business today, which is super cool. And we did a lot of networking, IT stuff. I installed servers. I started like doing IT stuff back when you actually still installed physical servers at your location. There was none of this like cloud platform that existed at the scale that it does today. So I was doing a lot of in person stuff there. So funny, I didn't really pay much attention even to LinkedIn at that time because I was just dialed into the startup. Like, I mean, I had a job, it was a startup. We were grinding, we were growing the business, and did that for like 5 years and really didn't pay attention to it from like a platform that you want to connect with other people on. I was just like, I'm busy grinding, I don't need to really like log in and create content or do posts or anything like that. So yeah, I was doing IT startup at the time when LinkedIn rolled out, and did that for 5 years.
Nice. So I think one of my first jobs was actually cutting grass. And I'll tell you what, I could cut my own grass and my, family's lawns. But as soon as it started to become, cutting other people's grass is like, yeah, I feel like I would rather be in on the computer, like on eBay,
Right.
to pick up a commerce uh, reference. So yeah, I that manual labor was good as like a young kid, but when I saw that LinkedIn and the internet were kind of coming out, it was pretty obvious to me that there was a massive opportunity here. And I don't know if you remember your first check from like digital, all things electronic, which correct
Yeah,
me if I'm wrong, but
I do.
doesn't E in e-commerce stand for like electronic commerce? So
Yeah.
when I got my first check from Google AdSense, I'll never forget. I think it was like 17 cents or 23 cents, something
Yeah.
just like so minuscule. I think I got like 17 clicks. So my cost per click was pretty low. But I just remember like that idea that you could transact online was just an incredible thought that kind of came across my mind. And so the purpose of this show, at least this first episode, is to really dig into that founder origin story. And I love
Right.
every time you tell that story because I'd like to hear from your perspective. How did you start a e-commerce business? OmniRocket is not your first business. You've had many
Right.
others. You also have um, the e-commerce leaders podcast. I mean, you've been around the
Mhm.
block for a while, and I mean, we're just getting started in our careers. So tell us
Sure.
a little bit more about that founder origin story.
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to that, what was going on in 2002 with the IT startup. So I was plugged in doing IT stuff, happy with that. I ended up pivoting a little bit and doing more, uh, taking IT manager role. So then I ended up doing that for a bit of time, and then probably about 10 years into my IT career, running as an IT manager for about seven locations for a tax consulting company. Then I got married, and so I moved up here. I'm in the Seattle area right now. Moved up here, and my wife was up here. She was working, and I had to make a decision. It was like, do I keep doing IT stuff or do I go back to school? So we decided it made a ton of sense for us to just have me go back to school, finish my 4 year degree because I kind of dropped out midway, did the 2 years, and then started working and doing all that fun stuff. And so that was sort of the impetus that sort of kind of launched a new direction for me. Is that while I was going to school, realized I didn't really want to do IT stuff as much anymore. It really wasn't super interesting. I didn't really want to like get back into it as I went to school and was kind of graduating with school. And so I made that pivot and started leaning more into marketing. And I really what I loved about marketing because digital had really kind of grown over the few years that I've been doing stuff in IT. I was kind of familiar with like the analytics of sites and the data side of it, which I really liked. And then with the additional layer for me was like the psychology, the selling psychology that is really interesting. And so that was sort of like the real connection for me was the digital, the data, and the actual like psychology of selling things online merged together. Sort of became what really drew me to it and made it super interesting. So when I went back to school, I sort of made that pivot and I just started over from scratch. Essentially, I realized, yeah, I think marketing would be really fun. I think I would enjoy it. So I started again as an intern. Talking about, I mean, I'm 10 years into my career. And so I said, nope, I'm going to just start again as an intern. And I started working for the university where I was attending. And I was like, what can I do? Like I started off as literally doing a project for them. Then the project turns into they had a student worker position, right? You know, when you're in school, you kind of get paid like minimum wage or a little minimum wage to do like part-time hours. That kind of helps you with school. I did that. And then that turned into like some part-time work, like consulting. I was like a contractor for them. And then that grew into a full-time job. So I ended up working with them doing email marketing, doing some paid media stuff as well, but mostly, you know, in the email marketing side is what I was focused in on. And then eventually started helping them with like some Salesforce. I was kind of a liaison between marketing and the IT side for a much larger implementation university. And so that was the career. So while that was going on, and I was doing a lot of email marketing, we were sending stuff, building out flows and campaigns, and you know, data cleaning and all that fun stuff you do in email marketing. Uh, Started like the side hustle. I was like, well, e-commerce is really interesting. That's in the next sort of level. I was doing a lot of lead generation, right? So like that next thing is like, well, how do you close the deal? How do you actually make a transactional sale effectively online? And so that was what kind of drew my interest in that. It's kind of the next step of that digital marketing experience. And about that time was I'd say it's around 2015, and Amazon FBA was really starting to pick up steam. Like Amazon was opening up a lot more tools and opening up the platform for third-party sellers. And so I got started with that. And the first product I launched, the first little brand we launched, was a complete failure. It crashed and burned. And so I, you know, bandaged up my wounds and my pride, and was like, okay, let's try this again. And then ended up connecting with a current business partner that's still my business partner today, and we ended up launching a brand in the art supply space. He'd already kind of done the initial like product dev, and so I just kind of added fuel to the fire, and we kept growing and still running strong today. So that brand's still operational and still going and still growing, and it's a lot of fun. But through that process of launching and building that foundation on Amazon, started doing more consulting. People just asking them more questions, and we started doing some like local events, and that was fun. And then that sort of led to partnering with a different business partner of mine, Jason, and he was been heavily involved in Shopify for since like 2010, 2011. Been on Shopify for a while, and he had basically quit his day job. He actually worked at the university as well, and quit his day job and went to work with in his wife's business in their e-commerce business, and was full time in that. And so a couple of years later, after he had left, we reconnected at the event that I actually put on for Amazon sellers and had him come talk about Shopify. And so we started talking about, well, maybe we should do something together in terms of training and doing teaching. If I focused on Amazon stuff, he focused on Shopify, and that was 2017. So from there, that was sort of like the genesis of where we got started. You know, it's like I was doing some consulting on the Amazon side, just having out of referral, people referring people to me, and I was helping them with paid ads and stuff on Amazon, and all of the stuff and launching products and all that kind of fun stuff. And then on Shopify, going on with Jason, we started doing some stuff with training and some group coaching. It's kind of funny too, because like it's important to like your cash flow model, right, of how you generate business. Because when you first started, we did a group coaching program, and we charged, I think it was like like $300-400 or something. It was a lower ticket offer, but it was like a 6 month training. And so we got our first cohort in and we got our money. And then we quickly realized that, like, hey, we signed up for a 6 month cohort. We took a one-time payment from them. And now we have no more revenue unless we go out and get a bunch more and start and launch a new cohort and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of quickly realized, we kind of want to focus on a continuity model. So we kind of pivoted and shifted that more to a paid continuity model. And then we were doing training and coaching and group coaching. And then from that, we started doing more one-on-one coaching because there was some demand that popped up, and then that sort of drove where that company sort of led into its offer was doing much more coaching in Shopify. And so we're working with brands, big, small, startup, different levels of where they're at in their journey, and it was fun. Like, we just kind of did that whole process, and now today, where it's at on Shopify and e-commerce, we're expanded it. Like, we're doing all of the services that we were doing. They should start doing services for coaching clients because we realized that sometimes the coaching clients needed some faster execution, or they're having trouble. They didn't have the internal team for it. They didn't really know who to trust on the outside. Hiring contractors can be kind of a pain. Hiring agencies can be really a pain. So we just build out the team and give it to our coaching clients. And then it sort of like grew from there. And now we're like, yeah, we can. Yeah, now we're offering these services straight up without even coaching associated with it. But that was sort of like the core. And that kind of leads us into kind of where we're at now. Like, well, what do we do? Like, what is sort of the offer that we make to people?
Yeah, I love hearing that story. I think I learned something new and different every time. That original in-person group meetup, that Amazon group,
Yeah,
that had to be right when Amazon really started to, expand beyond just books. I mean, what was
sure.
it in your mind that led you to really double down on e-commerce and Amazon
Sure.
specifically? I mean, what that had to been like 8 or 9 years ago. You were very
Yeah.
early on in e-commerce with Amazon.
Yeah, I got started in Amazon 2014 and 15. And then we did that event. I think it was like 2017, but it was kind of it's basically how that worked was we were sitting around doing some planning, and we were like, it'd be fun. We should do an event. And I was talking with Gary, my business partner on the Amazon, and I was like, would it be fun to do an event? Because he's a professor, he was retired, and did a lot of teaching. So we had connections. So we just basically had the business school sponsored at the university, and so they let us use the facility, and we kind of invited some of the MBA students, stuff like that. And we had no idea. I was like, if 20 people show up, cool. But actually, what was really cool about it was we had, like, I think close to 50 or 60 people that actually showed up and signed up. We had people flying in from Texas. We had people drive down from Vancouver, British Columbia. People came in and showed up, and we did really cool stuff. We sort of have like an advanced boardroom for more advanced sellers who were kind of talking, solving strategies, and we had kind of an intro to Amazon FBA, kind of selling on the platform that was taught by another speaker, and then we had some conversation on Shopify. So yeah, it was super early on, and the reason we just did it was because we're like, it sounds like it'd be fun to do. Let's just give it a shot. And it worked. It worked, and it was fun. And out of that kind of grew some other businesses, some other like long-term relationships that still have today out of that event. And it was just kind of one of those things where you're like, hey, should we do this? Yeah, let's give it a shot. And yeah, that was it. Like, it wasn't anything like super like strategic, other than it sounded like it would be fun to give it a try and do. And we had no idea how effective it would be, but people still talked about it even a couple years later. And I met with them, like, it was so much fun doing that event. So that kind of got us started. So since then, we've done like virtual events on Shopify, done events for Amazon virtually. And yeah, hopefully that leads to more and more events, both virtually and in person. I know David and you and I have talked about some in-person stuff to do for e-commerce. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, speaking of events, and this being a live event, we actually have some comments that are coming in. And I love that about having a live show, because unlike a podcast where you could have guests call in
Sure.
at a certain time, you get that live audience feedback. And so we actually had a question come in that said, what made you double down on Amazon? And I also had put in the comments as well, why over
Yeah.
eBay or other commerce stores?
Sure. Yeah, I doubled down on Amazon at the time because of the growth potential that was there, right? So in 2015, 2016, FBA, like literally back back then you could almost, you know, fog a mirror and make money, right? Like it was like pretty much launch a product, a lot wasn't a ton of competition. And so I think that it's important to do that even still today, right? Like it's important to understand where there's opportunity and what that opportunity cost looks like because doesn't matter what you're doing, what platform you're trying to leverage, there's always opportunity cost if you're trying something new. And so you just have to weigh the risk benefit, right, of it. And so for me, I didn't really have a lot established. So it just seemed like it was a lot of opportunity on Amazon. It wasn't a massive amount of competition. It was growing at a huge clip in terms of what they were doing from a traffic standpoint of sales. Like you can get sales pretty quickly. Now, obviously, that's changed quite a bit since then, right? Like Amazon's very matured as a platform, a lot of competition in certain niches. There's still opportunity there for sure. I mean, we are helping clients all the time on that platform. So I definitely wouldn't shy away from it. And I honestly think that it's matured enough to where no matter what you're doing in e-commerce, whether you're selling on your own Shopify store, whether you're selling on live on social, or maybe you're like on Whatnot, which is another live selling platform, you should have eventually have, depending on where you're at in the scope of your business, a plan for Amazon as a channel. Even if it's just a defensive play, even like I hate Amazon and everyone sell on it, that's totally fine. And you can have that opinion, and then your brand can hold that position. But you still should be able to think defensively about how you protect yourself on the platform and how you want to position your brand there. Because it's too big of a platform in the e-commerce space to completely ignore, in my opinion. So that's where, to answer your question, it was just the opportunity was right. And timing. And timing comes down.
Yeah.
Timing is a lot of everything when it comes to your business, right? And like getting in the right spot at the right time, and then being consistent with it, so that you can gain mastery and expertise and figure out what you need to figure out to unlock that level.
I love that mastery and expertise. It's so good to see you on the live show, AP. And I also see Audrey as well tuning in on Instagram. This is so
Sure.
great. And so, kind of as we go into the second part of the show, there's been many times in your career where you've transitioned
Mhm.
and you've transitioned from Amazon a little bit focused now over to Shopify. And so,
Yep.
for those who don't know, tell us why you think that every person who has a book on Amazon or like an art supply
Sure.
brand you mentioned, you didn't mention much about the skate brand,
Sure.
but you have
Yeah, I
many
can
brands
talk.
and,
Yep.
and I think a plant brand. I mean, I've lost track of the different brands
There's a
of
few.
products and services. So, what is the benefit? By the way, Thomas, good to see you as well. What is the benefit of launching a Shopify store where you can maybe
Mhm.
pick a couple products and services? And kind of on that
Sure.
as well, maybe paint the picture for those who maybe are just getting started
Right.
or those who are maybe more advanced and are looking to scale up their platform. And tell us maybe a little bit more about the type of store owner that you like to collaborate with or that you want to meet up in
Yep.
person for.
Yeah, no, that's a great call out and a great question. I think that so everyone sort of starts somewhere.
Right.
And with Shopify, it is what I would tell people is like Amazon is the demand fulfillment platform, right? So you millions of buyers, they're going to the platform, they're typing in what they're looking for to buy products, and there's demand, and Amazon fulfills that demand. Shopify is a little bit different because you can have an amazing Shopify store, throw it up, and if you're not generating traffic to that store, then it's not going to give you any sales. Like it's just literally going to sit there, and maybe you'll trickle in one or two there over time, right? Like it's just not going to do anything. So that's the first major sort of difference between sort of like Amazon or Shopify is that Amazon already has the traffic. You're just competing with a ton of competition potentially, right? Whereas Shopify, you have the ability to really tell your branding and tell that brand story at a much more robust level than you would with Amazon. The other thing that's important to realize is that with Shopify, you're essentially owning that customer data. Like that's your customer. With Amazon, you're basically renting that customer, right? It's still Amazon's customer technically, and then they're just kind of renting it to you, and you pay them an affiliate fee, basically a referral fee on every single transaction that you make on that platform. So you pay for every transaction, right? So that's sort of the fundamental difference. And what I found is that some people And some founders are really great at the branding and the storytelling and the visual aspect, and they typically function really well on Shopify initially because they can tell that story that it connects with people on social, and they're sort of really locked in and really able to pursue that and develop it quickly. With Amazon, it's a little bit different of a skill set, I would say initially when you're new, because you're really becoming an expert in product development. And so if you love the product development aspect, you still have to do that on Shopify if it's a physical product, or even a digital product. If you're selling something like a digital good, you're still doing some level of product development on Shopify. But the traffic skill set is sort of removed to some extent with Amazon. There's still some nuance with that, for sure, but you still have to get visibility on Amazon, which is a whole other activity. But it's in general, if you like product development, Amazon becomes a faster path for you. And so making that transition when you're going to go like, oh, I'm just going to take all the success of my product development, that I'm doing well on Amazon. I just flip it over and I'm going to launch my Shopify store and have the same outcome. It's just a slap in the face. You're just like, what just happened? Like, I'm not getting the same level of result on my Shopify store than I was getting on Amazon. And that's for a couple of important reasons. One is that Amazon has really built up their brand reputation. Like, everyone knows who Amazon is. They have their credit cards there. They understand the refund policy. They understand like the return policy. Everything is super clear. They understand it. They made it really super easy. When someone comes to your store, especially cold, right? Maybe they saw an ad and they clicked on it and they come to your Shopify store. Visually, your store needs to convey a few things that are super important. One being, are you trustworthy? Like, do people land on your store and go like, oh, like this brand looks legit, looks trustworthy, looks awesome. Do you have social proof on that? Or do you have reviews? Do you have other people that are saying that they bought from your store and they really like you? Because what people are trying to sort through is like, are you just a scam? Like, are you just like selling people stuff and you're never going to deliver it? And it's just, like, there's been that in Shopify's ecosystem in the past, or you're just hustling and trying to make a buck, but you're not really concerned about the customer or the customer experience and all that kind of stuff. So that's a challenge, right? And so you have to build that brand authority and brand trust in order to make sure that you're converting, on your store. So that's important. And I think, but the benefit of it, right, is that it is your customer. That cross sell, that long term sell, that lifetime value becomes so much more important to you, because now you have that customer. They know, like, and trust you, and they can buy from you again and again and again and again. And that is why you want to lean into it, right? And you're going to add much more value to say you started on Amazon or eBay or another platform. If you can add in a very powerful, it doesn't even have to be like, I mean, even if it's like 20-30% of your total revenue, just
Right.
adding that back in as an additional sales channel with stuff that you own, like customer base that you own, will add multiples to your business when you're ready to exit. Like, it's worth the investment.
Yeah, I love that. Well, looks like we've got some more people joining across platform, which is awesome. Love to see more folks joining. Shout out to Kenzie, Belkis, Thomas, AP, and some LinkedIn anonymous users. That's so fun. So
That's
the
fun.
question on the screen is, how do you compete with one of the most trafficked digital storefronts in the world? You mentioned traffic was important. I kind
Yep.
of liken it to a garage sale. You post up a garage sale sign
Yeah.
on your street corner, and you kind of get that trickle stream of cold traffic. But when they come, they get that personalized. They kind of see your house, your home, and they get that personal touch. You're not paying any affiliate fees or stocking
Yeah.
fees to Walmart. But Walmart, on the other hand, I mean, they're massive, right? And you go to Walmart, they kind of destroy that mom and pop shop. So I like this question because in a world where, this is going to tee us up for this second question as well. How does one kind of compete in a world where, Amazon and Walmart are racing to the bottom in terms of price? I mean, how does someone differentiate themselves to create a product or service that really stands out in all the noise?
It's a great question. And that is sort of the multi-million billion dollar question that all brands are sort of trying to unpack, right? But I would say this, there's a couple of really important distinctions that you need to make. One is you have to get super clear on obviously who your customer is and who you want to serve. So one of the ways that you stand out is by continuing to niche down. Right? Well, there's an old, I guess, axiom in the digital marketing space: the riches are in the niches, right? So it'll be, and the reason why that's the case is it allows you to really speak directly to your ideal customer and sound different than much bigger brands that are much maybe more broad in their targeting, broad in their messaging, where you can actually speak to their problems and hopefully I really understand what their real problems are that the customer's trying to solve and that your product or service is helping them to deal with. So I would say niching down is super important, and also understanding too, especially like a physical product, right? I think brand is really important, and I think one of the disadvantages that Amazon provided sellers in e-commerce early on was just how fast they can make money just by doing product launches, and just like I'm just going to throw out a new product. Now it's more of like, okay, branding does matter a lot more. Product photography, visual matters a lot more, even on Amazon than it did historically and in the past. But what it allows you to do is sort of make what we call like a brand. So the brand registry is something that you do on Amazon. You have a trademark, right? It's easy to go get a trademark on a logo, throw it on there, get it approved, and then now you're brand registered and you have access to those tools. But it's not really a brand, right? It's a logo and you have it trademarked. But I think really connecting your true brand and the brand that you want to build and getting really good at that story and really getting really good at identifying that and connecting that to your ideal customer and the people you really want to serve. I think that is an important piece and it's a missing piece and it's foundational to what you're trying to accomplish. So I would say that's the biggest reason how you can separate that out, right? Is think about Apple. Like there was a lot of other computer companies in the world and hardware companies in the world, but they really leaned on the customer experience and the user experience and just doubled down on it, right? And they just continue to do that to build one of the biggest businesses in the world today, and with amazing loyalty, like massive brand loyalty. Like when you buy Apple, like I probably have I don't know 10 Apple products in my household. Like you buy again and again and again, you just kind of get brought into that ecosystem. That's an example of a really good brand that focuses on the user experience and the customer experience with their product, and that's one way that you can stand apart. And then I would also say too is that along with that branding, it's how you position yourself from a pricing standpoint, because oftentimes you sort of have this spectrum of pricing in which your brand needs to decide who they're going to be in that pricing spectrum. So you have the lowest ticket, the lowest, you race to the bottom. You're going to be the cheapest provider, the cheapest option, and I'm just going to go into mass market, right? So that's one avenue. And then the other avenues you kind of move in, you're more of the premium. So it's a premium product, the premium experience. You charge more, but you offer just a better experience or a better product experience or better functionality, or that brand is able to communicate that premium level of quality to your customer, and you want to aim for that. Now, the other level beyond premium, what I would say is like a luxury brand, and luxury brands, they're not price sensitive at all. It's like, it's $20,000 for this bag. Well, how can a bag that literally probably costs nearly the same amount to manufacture as maybe the premium brand, how are they charging $20,000? Because the brand itself carries the value. It's like when the person who wants that brand buys it, it conveys the social signaling of like, hey, look at me, I'm wearing this brand, I've made it, I'm together, I'm rich, or whatever you're trying to communicate, whether subconsciously or consciously. That's what that brand is doing. So if you want to make that transition and be in that luxury space, then obviously your brand has to have that same quality and the same level of demand, right, over time that they'd have to cultivate to it. But a lot of brands sort of make the mistake, I think, of gravitating towards the middle. So they don't really land as a premium product or service, and they don't really necessarily want to be the low cost provider necessarily. So they kind of just gravitate towards the middle. And I think that's a mistake, right? That's the deadly middle. I think you really do either have to optimize to be the best low cost option, and you just go massively at scale as much as you possibly can, or you try to land in the premium spot. But drifting towards the middle, being a middle priced option, is a great way to be lost in the mix, right? And so to how you stand out from a big marketplace is one, I think you should have a strategy for that marketplace, like I said earlier. But then two, if you can deliver a premium experience that's just impossible to deliver or very difficult to deliver at like a marketplace level, that allows you to be set apart. And then, you're benefiting on the referral process for sure.
Yeah, thank you for that. And actually, I'm glad that this comment came up because Amir is actually asking something I've thought about as well. So, what signals are you looking for when deciding kind of whether that new marketing channel is
It's a
even
good
worth
question.
investing in? And kind of to prompt you a little, I know that one of
Sir.
your services you offer is niche researching and really
Yeah.
understanding brand positioning, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
whether that's a low cost, affordable value brand, or if that's
Sure.
more of a premium, high end luxury brand. So, what types of
Mhm.
things are you looking for when identifying if it's going to be a good fit for you to invest in?
Yeah, that's a great question. I like this guy. He's super smart. He happens to help also work with me and for me. So that's why. But what's cool is when you're kind of picking that stuff out, like making a decision around that, I think it first and foremost goes back to your audience. Like, who's your customer, right? So if, say, your product is geared towards, uh, women 45, or let's go higher, let's go women 60 plus, right? And that is your target audience. That is who buys your product. Probably doing a lot with, you know, Snapchat, right? It's probably not going to be the market for you, right? So you need to kind of be aware of where your customers are at and where they sort of hang out online. I would say go test Facebook first, right? 60 plus lady, it's going to be on Facebook for sure. Obviously, the other brands, other, demographics on Facebook. Facebook's massive. But that's probably where I would start when I start having that conversation around that. So go to where your customers are at. So that forces you to really think about where people are at. Where does your ideal customer sort of live and interact online? That would be the first thing I would look at. If you want to look for newer trending things, I think it's totally fine. I think you always have to be curious, right? I think the biggest superpower, the biggest skill set that you could lean into as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, is always have this level of curiosity in everything that you do. That asking those questions and then being willing to test it. It's like you can do a lot now with a very small budget just as a test, right? And then allow yourself to kind of double down and kind of push things in. And if it starts to work, then lean into it more. But so for me, when I look at like a new channel, I want to kind of see, well, is my audience there? And you can also see, are my competitors there? Because if your competitors are there at any level, not that it's saturated, but like maybe a few of them are starting to be there, and you see them spending more time and energy on those platforms, that might be a good sign to also get in and start having those conversations, for sure. But I mean, ultimately, the goal I think is to be everywhere your customers are online. I mean, I think that's sort of the ultimate sort of game plan of where you'd be going. Be everywhere. Now that's through retargeting, that's through Facebook, that's through all of it. Like YouTube, like you want to be, but you have to be able to scale your budgets up to that. So it's a prioritization of budget at that point that's really the limiting factor. It's like where your customers at and how much budget you have, and then you're stack ranking that based on uh, competition, based on cost, based on your expertise too. So, for example, if you internally in your brand and your business aren't great with video, then you probably don't want to be creating a lot of you. I mean, maybe you do want to create YouTube content because you want to get better at it, but that may not be the first thing that you go after. Maybe you're going to be more of an email marketer, or you want to do more blogging or more content marketing because you like to write, or that's really your skill set. Doing video may not be your initial skill set. So also lean into where your brand has strength. But so where are your customers at, how much budget do you have, and where do your current strengths lie would be the deciding factors for me.
I love it. All right. So, kind of as we come to a close, there's two kind of main thoughts that I have. And the first one is more an advanced concept because I know we're going to have some advanced people. They've been in e commerce maybe for a while. What usually converts better in terms of core services? A LinkedIn user asks, would you rather offer kind of one service like PPC or maybe giving clients a la carte menu to choose from? And I kind of think of TV ads. There's this company
Mhm.
Vibe.com, which is doing
Yep.
smart TV ads. I've started to see
Sure.
this show up on YouTube as well, where you just click the button, send to phone, or the QR code comes up and scan. And given I have history with Grab TV and T-commerce
Sure.
or
Sure.
television commerce, kind of curious, like, are you offering one key service and really doubling down on that like PPC? Or do you feel like a la carte is better? And what would you advise someone who's already doing pretty well on e-commerce to double down on?
Yeah. So I think for like an offer, right? So if you're offering, let's say you're an agency and you have the ability to offer PPC or a la carte, like how do you choose what to do? For me, it was a little bit more of I sort of go with the a la carte menu approach, only because I also come from the background of strategy, right? So I
Right,
like taking and putting the pieces together and looking at it holistically because I come from a coaching background. I'm thinking of it as a strategist. I'm thinking of it as sort of a fractional CMO, like director of ecom, like putting all the pieces and making those fit. So the a la carte menu fits better with my way of thinking about stuff. So I would say that is where we land, and we slowly built these services over time as well. It's like you kind of started
right,
with like just web development, and then you start building in like Google ads, and like you add Facebook ads, and you start building over time. So I would say what would be better is well, a what's your core area of expertise? Like what can you hang your hat on as a core offering?
right,
Um, that would be sort of where I would. So if you're good with PPC and you're awesome at it and you love doing it, then lean into that. Don't try to go too broad. For me, we started more as a coaching and sort of strategy approach. So we were already sort of engaged with multiple
right,
different areas. So the a la carte made sense for us in terms of where we would go with it. So I'd lean into your strength. The other cool thing is to build good strategic relationships with folks. Like I literally had a call today with a guy. We'll have to have him on the show. Love this dude. In the influencer and
nice.
affiliate marketing space, right? When people come to me and they say, "Hey, do you do influencer affiliate marketing?" I'm like, "No, not really. I mean, we do some stuff with TikTok for sure, but it's like that's not my skill set. But let me tell you about my friend Calvin." And I would make that introduction all day long because he
Right,
crushes it. He's got like 400 clients in Shopify, has a platform for it, and like so he is. I mean, he's the guy. Like I would refer people to him all day, every day. And so part of it's like building that network. So maybe you do optimize for PPC, but you're like, hey, I really want to do like more meta, or I want to do
right.
SEO. And so you're like, well, hey, I got to talk. Let me connect with Kyle, and what can he do, and then we can kind of collaborate together, and then we're kind of just getting a good outcome for my clients across the board. So that'd be my approach.
Nice. I have a mini question. It's like a short question. In the world of AI and these large language models that
Sure.
are like cutting out the search engine middleman and obviously ads, how are you seeing optimization for GEO or your generative
Mhm.
engine optimization? And how's that affecting ad spend?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, I think all of the stuff with AI is affecting all marketing across the board. Like we're definitely seeing that with SEO, right? So search engine optimization occurring where a lot of informational
Right,
content is like no click Google search result where the AI is just giving you the information, or you're just typing it in, or voice chat into Siri or Chat GPT, right? So I think what you have to do is you have to adjust your approach to incorporate it. I think you can't just ignore it and be like, oh, I hope AI goes away and goes back to the old school. Like that's what they said about the internet when the internet first came out. Like the internet's not going to last; it's going to be a fad, right? So it's definitely not a fad. I think it's only going to accelerate. So you make fine-tune adjustments to your approaches to
right,
incorporate the learnings for AI and to make sure that you just structure your data correctly. But then what I think is going to happen ultimately is that it's just going to make your processes more efficient. So here's a great example of this. So we would do these like customer avatar breakdowns. They're like 10 pages of data that we would do
Right.
for like clients when we would get ready to launch campaigns. And it would take probably like a day or two Amir knows exactly what I'm talking about. It'd take like a day or two to like build these out, do the research. Well, our team built like a GPT, right? One of these AI tools that literally did all that research just based on the domain of the client, right? Well, we
Right.
just take their domain, throw it in, answer some more questions, and like pull it out, right? With a high degree, I would say like maybe 90, 95% degree of accuracy.
Solid
Like,
A.
so like we were getting it. And like we were giving it out to people and like, man, thank you so much time for doing all this research for me. And they were responding. Like we're reaching out, sending it in cold emails and like reaching out to people and like
Nice.
they were like really they were valuing the value add piece of that. But that went from a couple of days worth of research to like 5 minutes.
Right.
So
Right.
that's when I talk about there's going to be there's a compressing, right, of tasks and data analysis and some of the stuff that's occurring. Even with like some of the ad spend stuff, there's a lot of AI optimizations happening at that level, right? Where used to be you did all your audience interest-based audience targeting, which we still end up doing some testing with that. But more and more, so for example, on Meta or Facebook, you're seeing more of the Advantage Plus take more and more of your budget because it's just a wider, more wide open targeting with the audience that
Right.
then lets their machine learnings tools and the Advantage Plus system sort of find that ideal customer at the best price point. So it's kind of leveraging those tools to be able to do that. And I think that's going to continue to increase more and more and more.
Awesome. All right, last question, and I love the live audience component. This one's a fun one. What's harder, scaling a DTC brand or telling your parents and explaining to them what you do for a living? Lol. Two L's.
Right. The D2C, yeah, that's hilarious. Well, I still have people that have no idea. Even my own family, like my brother's like, yeah, try to explain to people what you do, and I'm really not sure. Um, so a lot of times I say, hey, I do e-commerce, I do consulting, I help e-commerce businesses grow. Like that's kind of what I kind of coach them on what to say. But it's important. I think it's a funny joke, but like let me break this down to something that's practical because both of those issues deal with brand. Because if you're not clear as an agency owner, and it's something that I've struggled with before, we made some pretty crazy epic mistakes in terms of our brand positioning, and that just confused our customer base, and we lost momentum because of it, and we've had to rebuild out of that. But brand allows you to clearly and concisely tell people who you are and what you do. And it's the same with the D2C brand and scaling it. It's the same with an agency of what you do. You need to be clearly articulate who you are and how you're different. And I think the cleaner that you can do that and the more efficiently you can do that, the easier it is that you will be free to scale.
Yeah, I love that. I'm reminded I just recently visited my aging grandmother. She's like 89, doesn't even use a cell phone. And
Yeah.
I was doing my best to explain AI to her.
Right.
And it reminds me of Donald Miller and Story
Yeah.
Brand, how clarity, clarity, clarity. People buy things that are clear.
Yeah.
And if they're confused, then they'll, walk down the street. So, well, this is exciting. This is so much fun. So,
Love
why
it.
now? Why are you investing in a personal brand to kind of close this out? And when's the next episode? When can people tune in?
Love it. Yeah. Why now? Because I think that LinkedIn is a good opportunity to have these conversations on. I think it's an underused platform. Hey, talked about how do you identify platforms? I think LinkedIn's one of them. I think there's a lot of my target audience is on LinkedIn. And so I want to be able to have conversations and tell those stories. I want to tell more brand stories, kind of get, behind the curtain a little bit more with what's happening in e-commerce. And I think it's just great to be able to build that out. And I want to facilitate and build a platform that allows us to do that. Right. And so that's what this show is really about. It's about building connections. Like that's what LinkedIn's built on, right? It's like all about building connections. This is an opportunity for us to build more connections. And it's just an easy yes. It was an easy way for me to say, yeah, this is something that we need to be doing more of. And so I'm excited about it. So why now? Because now is the time to continue to build. Like, yes, am I going to try and perfect my offerings and my service offerings and my marketing pitches? 100%. But I would also much more importantly, and with greater intentionality, try to build these relationships and build these networks and build these connections, because they're going to have far better ROI than the best service optimized listing page or landing page that you could have, right? So that's why now it's about connections, it's about building connections. And I look forward to having everybody join me in this journey, right? Like, who knows? Maybe we'll have you on the show if you're watching. When we do the next one, it's a great question. David, when are we doing the next one? Is it next week?
I think Tuesdays at the
Tuesdays.
4 p.m. Pacific
Love it.
and the 7 p.m. Eastern, kind of get that window of people in happy hour. And look, I think it's also a legacy piece too, right?
Yeah.
To say in 10 years, 20 years from now, all of this content, all of this AI and quantum that's going to come out next is building on these core platforms. So they're going to go back and kind of sift through all the video, all the transcripts, all the AI, and be able to say, hey, look, this is where you were. And now a personal brand, right, and a podcast builds out that personal asset. You get to take that with you everywhere you go. No one can steal your face, your beautiful face, Kyle.
Right. Well, they can steal it with a deep fake, but it still won't be real.
True. But yeah, this has been such a pleasure. I'm glad that we got to get an introduction to you behind the cart origin story. I'm excited for the next episode. And you mentioned some guests. What is the best way for people to reach out to you to get on the show? I'm thinking maybe LinkedIn.
LinkedIn all day, baby. We're leaning into LinkedIn. So if you want to be on the show, you have a story, to tell, you have questions. I love the feedback. I love the interaction. I love the energy. So let's do it. Like, let's jump on, connect with me, send me a DM, send me a request, connect with me on LinkedIn, reach out. I love having conversations with folks, no matter where you're at in your e-commerce journey, whether you're working for an e-com brand, like you're just plugging away, you're grinding away at it, or you're starting a startup, or you're in between, you're an entrepreneur, you're a founder, doesn't matter. I love talking about e-commerce all day, every day.
Love it. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to close the stream down and can't wait to see you next week.
Love it. It's awesome, guys. Thanks so much for joining.